Hang on 1 second.
Hello?
What's up, dude?
Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good.
Long time. Like feels like a long time. It was only like a week though.
Yeah, it does.
We got to catch up on some stuff tomorrow too. I'll give you a call and
Yeah.
everything. I want to know a bunch of stuff. Did you get a chance to take to get a look at this yet?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I'm just reviewing the whole scalars and everything again.
So this is like pretty much almost ready for release. I think in general there's a couple of things I want to tweak. I think like once we tweaked the scalars before, I haven't changed anything from when we last did it, and I think that put everything in perspective. For anyone that doesn't know yet, I'm here with Dignitas Crumbz, who is actually a very good friend of mine. Has been he is actually, I think you're the highest rated challenger jungler now, right?
Yeah, I hit rank 3 today.
Damn, man. That's crazy. That is just nuts.
Yeah,
So
I'm 6-0 on both Nocturne and Xin, so
what do you attribute the success to?
Xin and Nocturne for sure.
Really? The feral fart change?
Yeah, those are some of my main junglers for the longest time, and since I can play them now, they're completely viable. I can just crush face of them.
So you were already incredible with them, and now it's just the game has evolved to the point where it allows you to play those guys again.
It went full circle for me.
I love it when that happens. Like it's, it's like, well, like sometimes it happens in reverse. Like I loved playing Skarner, and then like it backed up, it didn't happen, but then sometimes it comes back around and works the right way. And that is an incredible achievement, and everybody's kind of going crazy here and shouting it out. So, my objective basically with this tier list is to not get horrendously flamed when I drop this onto Reddit tomorrow, and try to get just have enough, have it close enough, I think, to what the meta is to help people out and have them come kind of like full circle with it and sort of be able to read it and then be like, okay, great, this is something I can use to get an idea of who I should play.
All right. So just looking at the first champions, yeah, the ones I have not tried right now, I haven't tried Tryndamere.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say much for how it would work right now. I know he's got great clear. I should just go down the regular list. I think Pantheon's is pretty in order. His clear may be a little bit slower though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I would put. I wouldn't put Pantheon at number 1. I'd definitely put Kha'Zix as number 1
because of the change to his R.
Yeah, I think he's just like you could honestly put 10 out of 10 in almost everything that he has. Like,
Okay.
Because he just got buffed too.
I know, he's ridiculous. Yeah, it's pretty much the strongest jungler in the game. I think I agree with that. So
he's got a late presence of 10 for sure. He's
really?
got 10 out of 10 versatility. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, because you can pick him into any matchup.
Yeah, you can take Kha'Zix into everything. He ultimate team fight presence, the best late game, and his early presence also for some reason happens to be you can't actually fight him if you're any other champion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just leave that at a 9, but his ganks are like a 9, and his clear is an 8.
Why are his ganks so high when he doesn't really have like a hard CC? Is his W that good?
It just brings that much damage.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Vi. Vi's pre-6 ganks don't really have that much damage.
Yeah.
That much CC, but the damage is insane.
So we lower Pantheon's clear a bit, and I do agree with that. I don't think his clear is that excellent, especially if he. I think that I do still think that Pantheon is just insane just because of his map control.
Yeah, no, I think Pantheon's definitely at least top 3.
Okay, and I didn't change Lee Sin at all because I thought that I thought that Lee would basically his nerf didn't seem to change him that much. You said though that you thought that it actually might have changed him a little bit. What do you think?
It barely did because it was only cooldown on W pretty much, right? Yeah. So that barely did anything to him. He's just the same. So as for me, like the junglers that I would put on, if I would have to rank them from rank 1 to whatever on personal preference, This is always, yeah, I'd say Kha'Zix would be number one. Lee Sin number two. Then Xin Zhao. Then Pantheon. Then Nocturne. Then Wukong. Then Vi.
Do you think
Actually,
Xin
no.
Zhao should be higher than he is?
Yeah, I think Xin has his clear is pretty mediocre though. I'd put like a 7 on his clear, but his ganks are a 10 out of 10. His early presence is like 10 as well. His early presence
Wow.
is insane.
Okay. So I mean, when we're talking tens, we're talking like the best in the game. Like, there is nobody else that does that any better.
Early ganks, yeah, I could see that. Now Elise got nerfed. You could leave that at a 9, but his early ganks, the thing is, he doesn't have to come at you with his E. Like a lot of times, a good Xin Zhao is just gonna walk up to you, and if you don't flash immediately, he's gonna auto you once. And if once he autos you and tags you with the red buff slow, you pretty much are gonna get either knocked up, and once you use your gap closer to flash away, he's just gonna dash to you and then CC you again. So it's pretty damn powerful ganks.
Okay. Did you have a chance to try Master Yi?
I've played quite a bit of Master Yi.
What do you think?
Clear is probably not faster than Shyvana.
Yeah, I have him less than Shyvana, yeah.
His early presence is, I'd say it's higher than that because a lot of junglers can't actually fight him. Like full health on full health Master Yi tends to be able to scrap quite a bit.
Yeah, you're right. He met it. Did you? There was an invade I had in my last game.
Yeah, I saw, and I thought it's like great, but you took Ghost, so you couldn't get out of it. I thought if you had Flash, you would have been able to get out of the whole situation.
Right. Yeah, and you take Flash on Xin Zhao?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was weird. Like, I just can't believe he meditated that damage back at level 2. That was really smart of him. So his early presence is probably higher because he's able to do that.
Yeah, that's basically. Otherwise, he'd die to everything.
Yeah, and I think that should put him into tier 1. Probably should up a little bit of the versatility. So Xin Zhao now, like, he's kind of like still barely in tier 1. And I think he should probably be higher. Especially, I don't know where to actually... before actually I do that, for the scalers, since that's absolutely the most important part of it, do you think anything changed with 4.5? I don't really think it did.
Maybe not really. I think it's pretty on point. I'd say the versatility. Versatility we went through. It's not really important. Team fight's nice and all, but you don't exactly need it. Early presence is very important as well as late game, and then the ganks. Yeah, maybe the ganks would be a 7. That's the only thing I would change.
Okay. Ganks are more important than clear, you think?
Yeah, for sure. Because you got champions like Xin Zhao that have poor clear but incredible ganks.
Let's see how that changes things. Probably change things quite a bit, actually. Nope.
And then I'd put Xin not on the masteries, not 30-0-0-21-9.
Okay.
I don't think there's any jungler that I would take 30 points in offense.
You know what's really good? You know what's really, if you've considered it, and also a guy that's gotten way better is Jax. If you run 30 and hybrid, you can just dominate the enemy jungler pretty fast. I've had a really successful invades with Jax. And I think, actually, I haven't played him enough to... I know he's in tier 2 right now, but I actually would probably raise him. Like, Feral Flare has changed a lot of stuff. It might make his clear a little bit better. I don't know why I have his clear at a 5 in the first place. I think it's probably higher than that.
I don't know. I haven't played with the Feral Flare Jax.
The only problem is the mana. And have you tried Shyvana yet in 4.5?
Yes, I have, but it was a really troll game, so I didn't really. I only realized that it was in clear time. That's about it.
Okay, so we don't know on Shyvana quite yet. And Evelyn, I have in tier 2, but I feel like I should have her in tier 3 because she's like probably one of the strongest. Actually, she isn't in tier 1. Or sorry, she should be in tier 1 because she's one of the strongest junglers in the game still, right?
Who again? Evelyn?
Evelyn, yeah.
Yes, yeah, she is. She's amazing.
Probably I should put a 9 on gang speed just because the stealth effect makes people so afraid of her. But she's not that good late, right?
No, she's not. She's just a tank.
Okay. And so I guess that's probably accurate then because her objective control is not that fantastic either. She can't really take buffs unbelievably well. Most of like the other junglers are pretty. I think like in terms of the tier listings, most of the other junglers are. I mean, I think Wu went down quite a bit. He actually just is barely in.
Yeah, I would be surprised if you see him in competitive play again.
You don't think you don't think he
I
will?
really don't think so. I don't see Wukong coming back right now.
Do you think they're gonna change Feral Flare before the playoffs?
No.
Really?
The thing is, you look at a champion like Xin Zhao, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you think, what's the current meta? We're playing tanks, we're playing 2v1 pushes, and we're playing early skirmishes, right? Early team fights.
Yeah.
So then you have Xin, who's with his W at level 3, pushes towers faster than almost any other jungler.
Yep.
He pushes towers fast incredibly quick. He doesn't offer that much of a, like, say, an early dragon, but nobody goes for that anyway, so it's not a big deal. He's got good objective clear on stealing buffs or fighting. His ultimate allows him to be tanky early. He's got great base damage, base values, good engage, good base. Like, he's just a solid champion all around that fits the meta perfectly with all the armor stacking. And now that people are running just health, he's able to dish out even more damage.
Oh, so let's talk. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, I just think we need to make sure that we get Xin Nocturne higher up in the list, I'd say.
Okay, let's work on that. So if I would keep his clear the same, we might up his early presence to a 10 then. Since he can, well, he can't. Kha'Zix is already. I know Kha'Zix has a better early presence than Xin, right? So
in ganks.
No, yeah. So which one?
I wouldn't say so.
Really, you think Xin has a better early presence?
The thing is, you think about a Kha'Zix gank. Kha'Zix jumps on you, autos you, and then you die, right?
Yeah.
But if you flash that, you probably
can't
don't
gap close. Yeah.
But if Xin Zhao catches you, it's a lot harder, in my opinion, to get away from a Xin than a Kha'Zix early.
Okay. Do you think he has a very high presence in team fights? I think we should. I think I do know where. Before that, I'm gonna up his objective control because I think that he takes towers so fast that the only person I've seen that can take towers that fast is Tryndamere. Tryndamere is another just beast jungler. He just takes stuff so quickly. So what's?
I think Zin's versatility could be upped a bit, even though it's not a big thing. I think he's got like an 8 or 9 versatility, just because he works in hard engage. He's good in disengage, surprisingly enough. Like, he's good roaming. He does quite a bit of things for your team.
Versatility basically on this list just means how many comps can he be picked into.
Exactly.
Yeah. So okay, and then Nocturne I think is one I've had some trouble with for a long time. I feel like with Nocturne, my big issue with him is why not pick Pantheon?
Oh, here's the thing though. Well, first of all, you should put Nocturne's clear 10 out of 10. He clears, like, every Nocturne game I've had, I have the highest CS in the game.
It's faster. It's as fast as Shyvana?
It's ridiculous because the thing is, this is how you play Nocturne. You go, you reach your ultimate, and then you use it at level 6. And it's got a 2-minute cooldown. That means for 2 minutes straight, the only thing that's on your mind is going to be farm. You're gonna do the entire jungle, then you're gonna go find the lane and push that lane and just farm that lane out. You're gonna go keep finding jungle, and you're gonna do absolutely nothing until your ultimate comes back up.
And so basically just gank on cooldown and not worry about it.
Pretty much. Like, your entire team is on their own until your cooldown comes back up.
Okay. So you better hope you get kills during that period of time.
So his early presence is lower than that, though. He has like a 7 early presence or a 6. It's quite poor, actually.
All right.
But his late game presence is a 10.
Really?
Just because paranoia is such a valuable tool. One of the best things I like to do about him is, since with the Pharaoh Flare change, you remember how you can do Baron really quickly.
Yes.
What you do is you get another person to do it even quicker, because he can't actually solo it. Even if you go full DPS, you don't have the lifesteal to actually solo it.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you get somebody else in the pit with you. You start beating on Baron, and when you see the enemy react to it, you press Paranoia. So you got about 4-second window where they're thinking, shit, someone's getting ganked, run away. and they start running back, they start running away from Baron, or they just launch themselves into the Baron pit, but
Yeah.
they can't see it, so the jungler can't steal it. Even if they ward inside the pit, the paranoia blocks the vision, so you pretty much have a good timing window to finish Baron off, and that just makes for good Baron rushes. And then if you finish it quickly and you time it perfectly, you'll be able to even turn after that.
Wow. So he is. So if I just classify his late presence as a 10 alone, he's the 5th best jungler in the game.
Yeah.
With Xin Zhao being a little bit better, and Pantheon and Vi still being a little bit better.
It's just kind of weird because the entire list pretty much puts almost every champion that's good right now on having like a 10 out of 10 and everything.
That's true. I think though that's realistic. Like if you talk, so 10 should basically represent the very best ability. To do that thing. So if you're if you're the best at team fighting in the game, then you should have a 10 basically.
Yeah, it's just so different because I would put Kha'Zix with a 10 out of 10 team fight presence.
Why though?
But I would also put Nocturne just because it's two completely different things. So Kha'Zix has an incredible team fight presence. One, he's got reset potential. That already makes your team fights incredible, right? You can get
good point. Yeah.
You potentially kill everybody solo with that ability.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of damage because that's just how the champion works. And you have the ability to tank practically everything because you have 50% damage reduction with movement speed. So you have the ability to move around the team fight and just completely demolish it. So you're kind of a one-man army in the team fight, right?
Yeah.
But as Nocturne, you have more like immediate burst in Kha'Zix if you don't build them. If you build Nocturne with a little bit more DPS, since you're going like a tank Kha'Zix build right now, you go a little bit more DPS on Nocturne. And in a team fight, your paranoia essentially creates 4 seconds for the enemy team to be disoriented and not know what to do. So you'll force them on their retreat half the time, or you can get a great engage with your team. So let's say you have a Malphite Nocturne, you press paranoia, the entire enemy team, oh shit, Nocturne's coming in, clump up and run away. Malphite comes in because they don't see him, and then he gets a 5-man flash ultimate. So if you can use your Malphite, your Nocturne ultimate effectively, you can essentially carry a team fight, and not even the spectators can pick up on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. So in terms of what your objective is, though, like the team fight, your objective as Nocturne would be either to knock out the carry or peel. I feel like he doesn't have a whole lot of peel for your carry. Let's assume that like you're really fed, your ADC is really fed. Your objective is to protect your carry. He can't really do that well, can he?
Well, you're gonna protect him by killing whoever's on him.
And he has the damage to do that.
Yeah. Because the thing is,
how are you building him? Like,
remember, I'm building Bork and Trinity.
And really?
Yeah. I go Pharaoh Flare into tier 2 boots almost immediately into Bork and Trinity.
Are you building tier 2 boots early in the game? I haven't seen a lot of like viability of that. Like, what do you think about that?
I just build Ninja Tabi because I'm not running armor seal, so I just want to have some sort of protection against physical damage.
Ninja Tabi is the most cost-effective boots in the game right now.
Like even if they have 5 mages, I'm not buying Merc Treads.
Yeah, that's definitely, I agree. Like Ninja Tabi's insane, and that actually segues. You said that you basically would take scaling health on every single role, not armor, right? So you're replacing armor for scaling health. That's a huge change.
The thing is, I haven't tried the actual the ability junglers, which would be Lee Sin or Pantheon. I actually haven't played Lee or Pantheon in this patch at all. I've played almost exclusively attack speed junglers. The reason being is since the attack speed quint got buffed, you get so much health back with the machete that you don't actually need armor to protect you from the damage from creeps. So when you get more health later down the line, you're able to tank both physical and magical damage.
So but you think that scaling health is basically better for almost every jungler now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And would you say the same for like in lane?
Not necessarily. The one thing that I would take over scaling health would be scaling armor. Scaling armor seals are really strong right now, but they're obviously better late game. But they, I think, break even at like level 6. So those are really powerful right now.
Okay. So very good against basic, like level 6 is almost nothing. So very powerful in a support lane, maybe if we're gonna.
I'll just read it out to you pretty much. So you got flat seals are 1 armor each,
Right.
So you got 9 armor from them. If you
Mhm.
take scaling armor, it's 3 armor at 18.
So it's 3 times as powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's 3 times 9. So yeah, that's pretty strong. Plus the
exactly.
scaling magic resist is insane too now.
Yeah, but I just take CDR on everything. It doesn't even matter if they
You
have
take
a
straight
lot.
CDR like 9 CDR runes?
Just yeah, 9 CDR runes on everything
Scaling or flat?
flat.
Okay. Mm.
The only time I used to not take scaling CDR, well, a flat CDR is if they had Elise, but that was the week before she got nerfed.
Mhm.
But now it doesn't matter, so I just take flat CDR because all these junglers they all need the cooldown. Like Xin, if has no cooldowns, is gonna destroy anybody.
Yeah, so, like Zin's all about cooldowns, and he can't really get them from a lot of items. Like, how are you building him right now? Like,
I'm building Xin with Feral Flare into
Mhm.
mobilities into. Typically, I get a brutalizer, build that later into a cleaver, and then have either a maw. I'll typically have a maw, and I'll typically have a randuins.
All right. You sometimes do those hex drinker builds.
Yeah, if they have magic damage, I'll get hex drink all the time.
Yeah, it's very cost efficient now, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's always been that way.
Yeah, that's true. They haven't really, but Maw is less so, isn't it?
It still is. It's a pretty big shield, and it gives you good damage. So again, you're stacking attacks, so you might as well get a little bit more damage.
It's like a 44% or 400, excuse me, like 400 shield or something, right? Yeah, 400 magic damage. It's like a Morgana black shield almost, like super powerful. I don't feel like the patch. Oh, one thing that's kind of crazy. Two junglers, Shaco and Jarvan. I don't think Jarvan got changed at all, but Shaco I think is a little bit underrated. What do you think about him?
Yeah, this is one that I'm not too sure about in competitive play.
No, we're talking solo queue though. They're basically a solo queue tier list,
This
more
is
or
a solo
less.
queue tier list.
What's that?
Okay, this is a solo queue tier list,
Yeah.
and this is perfect so far.
Okay, good. Yeah, LCS like LCS. You guys already know what's good. Like I got nothing to teach you. So
yeah, Shaco is definitely above Jarvan, not 30-0-0, 21-9, or 21-0-9, not 30-0-0.
On Shaco.
And, yeah. Oh, you call him Shaka? That's Shaco, Shaka. Same.
Shaka. I just like Shaka because it feels like it's like a punch or something. I don't know. It's like like a strong word.
Really, he has the strongest 1v1 late game of any champion in the game, pretty much. I think we were debating who would be the only champion that could fight him late game. I think we came to the conclusion that it could be Nasus, could be the only champion that could take him on late game.
Right?
No,
she zones out for a while.
It doesn't matter because he does the same thing too.
With his R.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got 6 items, right? So then later in the game, this is what happened. A 6-item Shaco deceives onto you, Qs you, auto attacks you, hits you about 3 times, E's you, and then ulties, and then starts wailing on you again, and you're like, shit, which one is it?
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's pretty much it.
I wonder how I would like actually.
The thing is, he got even stronger because a lot of Shakos don't take flash. They don't take an escape summoner.
Right.
They take ignite.
Yeah, or exhaust, which is insane.
Now exhaust got buffed. I used to always take exhaust, but now it got even better. So if you take exhaust, he becomes a god, especially later in the game.
That's actually awesome. Yeah, that makes it because exhaust scale because it's a percentage of damage. It's 50% now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's just insane.
What I like to do on Shaco is I'll start red buff. Like this is such a dick move for every mid lane. Like they fucking hate it, but it's pretty much you start red buff, and since you set up boxes in it, you pretty much clear the buff as soon as it spawns. Because I use smite on it too, because it doesn't matter if you use it right as soon as it spawns.
Yeah.
And I'll get level 2. I'll get deceive, and I go gank middle, and I exhaust the guy immediately. Like just exhaust him right off the bat, like a level 2 gank with exhaust, and they're like, "Fuck, I gotta flash." And then they flash right there, and then you just run out to the other side of the map, and then you go do your other buff, and now the mid laner has to play like a complete bitch because he has no flash. He's scared of you because you're Shaco, and he pretty much won mid lane for your mid laner.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a really cool strategy. And you don't invade their buff with Shaco early?
You can, but I'd rather just gank middle like that. Like that right there completely destroys me. Like, it is such a huge thing because you chunk the guy too, right? Because you auto attack him a couple times with red buff.
Yeah, right. So he actually takes a decent amount of damage. So from there, your mid should be able to follow up and destroy him.
Pretty much.
So in solo queue, I've been experimenting a lot after we talked at the house about changing my style so that I start on the buff I think they're going to come to, and then I'll get my level 2, wait in a bush, and then just hose them. And that seems to work most of the time in solo queue. And you said you were doing that even in Challenger. Do you think that for people that are trying to gain elo as junglers, pressuring the enemy jungle at that early state is a pretty good idea? And what other ways can we pressure the jungle at around that silver to platinum level? That basically those junglers are not equipped to expect because of their lack of game knowledge.
So there's different ways to abuse other junglers. So a good way, the way I told you, was pretty much, so you got mid laner versus mid laner, top lane versus top lane, and bot lane versus bottom lane. So you should be thinking, oh, jungler versus jungler.
Mm-hmm.
Your idea would be to go fight. You need to go fight the other jungler. So a couple ways to outplay the opposing jungler. That this is assuming that you have that you are better. This is how to outplay somebody that is worse than you.
Yeah.
So what you can do is, first off, very important, of course, take times. You need to time all the buffs in your mind. And a really big thing would be to try to predict what the opposing jungler is going to do. Now, sometimes they may go for level 2 gank, but that's very unlikely. So a good way to notice where the opposing jungler started is when the lanes come out, you need to look at both the health of all the champions that come out of the lane, and their mana. The mana is usually the giveaway. So a lot of times you'll see bot lane come out, and you'll have like a couple of seconds to realize that Karma from bottom lane came out with, instead of 300 mana, she had 290, and it's going to regen so quickly. But if you don't look at it immediately, you won't know what happened.
Right.
But if you look at it right there, you'll see, shit, Karma used mana. The only way she used mana is if she was helping the jungler. So the jungler started blue buff. So then you're thinking, okay, we know what happened. We know where the jungler started. Now I can make a play to see where he's going to be. And then a lot of times, amateur junglers will not use health pots. So
really,
they're not going to maintain themselves at full health jungling. It's very important. This is one of the biggest things, that a lot of times junglers will let themselves get really low in the jungle and not die because they won't have a good understanding as to how to time their health with the health pots. So what you do is you need to look out for them at almost every camp. So you can follow them around. You don't need to use your trinket ward at level 2, but you can just go invade their jungle and set up trinket wards that allow you to see where they are.
Okay.
And instead of warding entrances, warding camps is more efficient because you see them, it helps out everybody, and it gives you opportunities to decide if you can jump them while they're at the jungle camp. And if you're better than the other guy, when you jump him, you should be able to kite him around so that he keeps tanking the creep aggro and you can kill him there.
Right.
Another one would be, obviously, since you have the timers on his buffs, even though he doesn't know that you saw him start it, you can set up pretty much camp the brushes, and if you're Shaco, I don't know, you can set up traps, or you can call up your enemy, your allies, so go in to the jungle with you and kill him there. So getting your mid laner or your lanes to collapse and wait for the opposing jungler, who is likely to not call his own team, is going to be useful. And then another one would be ward coverage, specifically how to deny their ward coverage. This is something that I always do. Is typically on my first buy, I'll get a pink ward, and I'll get I'll switch out my yellow trinket for a red one so that I can get it as soon as possible. And what I do with this red one is, I don't want to use my red one. A lot of the times you find yourself people using the red trinket on spots that they think is warded. That's not that useful because a lot of the times it's a long cooldown and you want to be actually denying wards. So you pretty much you're gonna wait around until you know that something is warded, or you see that something just get warded right off the bat.
Yeah.
Walk to it, they ward it immediately, and then they're like, "Well, shit, the guy's just right here when I warded it," and
Yeah.
then that already puts a lot of pressure on the map because they're thinking, "Huh, this was a spot that I wanted to have warded because I wanted to establish control in this area, and now it just got taken away."
Hmm.
And then a good thing that you can do is ward instead of warding camps. Camps is for warding earlier on. Once you want to make established team fights from happening, you ward entrances into the jungle. So there's a couple entrances, for instance, into the blue jungle. There is two entrances. There is the one from mid lane through the two towers, and there,
Right. Yeah. The wraith bush to the right on purple. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, and there is a one. There's a well, I'm not. This is talking to the blue side. That it pretty much
Oh.
would mirror. It pretty much would mirror, but there is two entrances essentially to the jungle
Hmm.
from each side. Warding these two is very important because now you'll be able to, when a team fight happens, you can essentially see somebody coming into the fight late.
Right.
And if you already have an established position, you'll be able to jump whoever is there first or somebody who's isolated to be able to kill him.
Hmm.
So taking advantage of what you need to take advantage is the lack of coordination. So a lot of time people aren't going to move in as a unit. They're going to move in as individuals going into a fight. So being able
Okay.
to get there before them and wait for them and catch them doing this is what's going to win you games.
Can you elaborate on that? So are you saying wait early in their bush and kill the jungler directly like a 1v1?
Yeah, pretty much.
Or
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can do that or call if you can call up an ally, it's even better.
right. Okay. And so you basically just I've seen like people they sit in the bush and just wait for the jungler to come. Like you'll see that happen like with Trick 2G, he'll wait like 4
Yeah,
minutes and then someone will
yeah,
finally walk through and he'll just destroy them. Like is it that kind of thing you're talking about?
almost. Yeah, but you don't want to do it wasting that much time.
Yeah. So are you big on some there's a kind of kind of a chasm between junglers at high elo. Some junglers say like Night Blue for example that you want to be absolutely as efficient as possible. And other ones say you can kind of spend a lot of time setting up ganks and a lot of time maybe being in a bush like a minute or two and if you get that kill it's worth it. Like how much are you really losing if you're not making plays and you're waiting to set something up?
Depends entirely on the champion you're playing.
Why so?
Because a champion like Nocturne, Nocturne is a champion that Nocturne is the ultimate efficiency machine. That's the one guy that you have to be as effective as possible. You need to be farming non-stop so that you can actually be powerful because once a team fight happens, you're literally launching yourself into somebody without practically any defense statistics. So being effective in being able to get big on that champion is really important because as the game progresses, you need to be able to be taking multiple people on and being able to dish out quite a bit of damage. Same with champions like Master Yi. But if you're playing something like Lee Sin, you can afford to take a little bit off your early game because as the game scales, you're not going to be able to do that much for your team. So you need to take advantage of your strength, which is going to be, yeah, you can waste a little bit of time early on waiting for somebody just because you're going to be that's your prime time. You're not going to do anything by being efficient and farming or looking for other ganks. You are looking for a gank in this situation, essentially waiting for somebody. So it's very dependent on the champion and how strong they are late game, pretty much.
Okay. And from there, one problem I've had in the jungle a lot, and this has almost made me sort of push away from the role. It feels like, in terms of decision making, your decisions are a lot more important than other lanes. For example, if I'm playing support and let's say that I make a play, I give the ADC a kill, and that sucks. I mean, the ADC is a little bit ahead, but that's definitely not game breaking. Whereas I go up to top lane at level 2, make a decision to do a gank, get counter ganked, lose, drop 2 kills, give someone double bust, and it's like the game's completely over. How do you stop making this? I mean, I know this is kind of a general question, but how do you stop making those game breaking decisions where basically the entirety of the ability to carry the game is on you or not, and the throws in jungle seem so much more significant than other lanes?
I mean, every time the thing is when you get a gank turn is almost entirely on you into understanding the champions and the damage that's of it. That's going to be dished out from both parties.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people will try to gank with, I don't know, like a Rise top, and then, oh shit, Rise is one-shot me when I gank them. That's just not being able to understand Rise. So a big part of it is looking at the items that the champions have and knowing what's going to happen and how strong the people are. And aside from that, a good thing to knowing if a gank is going to get counter gank is just your general map awareness. Knowing where the jungler started is very useful. For instance, if you started red, if you're blue side and you started blue buff and you're ganking bottom at level 3, once you do blue, red, and bottom, and you know the opposing jungler started red, blue to bottom, and it's not a guaranteed gank bottom. Like you're going for a gank right now that is like 30% chance of working.
Mm-hmm.
That's just gonna get turned in an instant. That's not
Yeah.
even close. Like you know the jungler is there. You know the jungler finishes at the same time you finished. So
Do you feel like you have to have a higher level of awareness to be able to avoid plays like that? Because
yeah,
do you kind of agree with the idea that you really can throw games a lot worse on jungle than any other role?
Yeah, you can. You can
Yeah.
throw a game. Junglers, I mean, you give away double buffs instantly. If you can keep giving away double buffs, then you're gonna keep throwing pretty hard.
Well, it's kind of like a force multiplier to use that word on a lane because you're giving away 2 kills instead of one lane just losing, right? So you just magnify the win on the enemy team by making a bad play. And I guess I've just had trouble with that from my own perspective. Is like, wow, I've made a play that was the poor decision, and that's why it's so amazing to me. And I think why there are so few junglers in challenger queue. One of the least common roles, I think, because in solo queue it does require the highest amount of decision making. So, are there any practices that you use? Any kind of mantras that you use to have consistently good decision making? I mean, especially since you're pretty much the best jungler in the solo queue league right now. I mean, there must be some kind of like techniques or methodology you're using to get there.
It's mostly just looking at where the opposing jungler is. That helps you out quite a bit because a lot of times you messed up a lot if it's not really awareness. If you get a gank turned 1v1, 2v1, it's just knowing where the opposing jungler is. So I really go out of my way to notice where the opposing jungler started. And a lot of times I'll say, okay, somebody didn't give this guy a leash. I don't know exactly where he started. Going for a gank that's not going to be completely certain, or base checking a brush that as you approach the brush, the laner starting to move towards you. You're like, somebody may be here. That's something that you don't want to go for. So if you don't know exactly where the other guy is and you're not strong enough to kill whoever you're ganking immediately, that's something that you should generally not go for. So that would be something that's efficient. For instance, like going for a gank that is going to get you a flash and maybe stunned later. Like let's say you gank Veigar, right?
Yeah.
You're going out to gank Veigar. You got your Orianna on your side, and then your Xin Zhao. You hit Veigar, bam. You auto attack him twice. He flashes your last auto attack. And then he stuns you, and then he Qs you, but he flashed out and he lived because he stunned both you and Orianna. And now here comes Kha'Zix. You just use all your cooldowns, and he killed your ass. So that's like that gank on Veigar is pretty easy, but you need to be careful with it. So you need to maintain yourself at full health before going on it.
So you're saying that you only do ganks that you're 100% sure can work? You don't take chances when they're like 60, 70%?
No, I do take those chances for sure. I do take those chances quite a bit.
What's like the kind of the cutoff for it? Like you're not if you're not like if you're kind of half and half, you won't do it. Or
the more I'm losing, or the more I fear from the early game, or that we need to make something to win, then the more I'll take a chance.
Okay, so it depends on your status and like you're
if
playing
I know
the game.
If I'm playing a game right, and let's say I got my game and I'm playing Nocturne, right? This is I guess Nocturne is one of my favorite genres. That's why I bring him up so much. But I'm Nocturne, and I started red buff. I'm blue side, and then I end up on my blue buff at level 3, and then I'm looking at top. Top, we have a Renekton going top, and then there's Renekton's laning against Shyvana. Somehow Shyvana knocked down this Renekton to pretty low health. Like, this could be a good gank. But they have a Lee Sin jungle. It's like, we know Lee Sin jungle. Where we always know where Lee Sin can always turn a gank pretty easily. It's like, Renekton and Lee Sin, that gets outscaled pretty hard. Shyvana outscales Renekton, going for this gank. If this shit gets turned, I'm gonna get snowballed on really hard. I'm just gonna go for keep farming. If he wants to fight me, he's welcome to come fight me. But presenting myself in a situation that I can throw the game instantly right there when I know I'm gonna outscale them is not something I would want to go for.
Okay. That is good. In general, like, I think I've talked to a lot of people. Actually, I haven't even told you this offline, but I've actually talked to a lot of people that are like, man, Crumbz has gotten incredibly good. A lot of my friends have said that now. You know, like significant streamers and stuff like that, and I tend to agree. Like, you've just spiked in your kind of like power level, and I wonder like what is the mental structure behind that.
This patch put me over the edge. I love this patch.
Yeah,
I cannot stress enough how happy I am to have seen this change come.
because it makes a lot of junglers viable that probably should have been viable for a long time.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
I used to play Xin so much when we first were on, like when we on the first play, I was like Xin all day. And then even before that, in before LCS was a thing, I played Nocturne almost non-stop, just Nocturne all day. And then it's like, oh shit, well you can't play Nocturne anymore. You need to play Lee Sin. Like, all right.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I played these other champions. Like my champions are Nocturne and Lee Sin, just because I like to get into the lore of these champions. I like what they're about.
Oh, so you kind of like get into the character of them.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, it does. I think you kind of get a little bit more into it. I agree. Like, I have really wanted a chance at Feral Flare. I think it's just a really like revolutionary item for the jungle, which is why I was a little bit afraid they might change it a little bit. There's a lot of people saying it's pretty imbalanced right now.
It's powerful in a lot. The thing is, it's imbalanced in some champions. Absolutely. I think.
So do you think they'll address the item or those champions?
The item has to be adjusted. You can't tackle the champions.
So then what do you think will happen to it?
You could probably just increase the cap on it.
Okay.
Like make it like 35 stacks into it instead of 25.
That would still be strong enough that
It's
those
still be very strong, but I mean, you just make it a little bit slower. Because the thing is, I'll be playing Nocturne, and then I'll be farming away, and then once I get my Wriggles, I'll already have like 18 stacks on it.
That's amazing.
And be like, well, like I ended my last Nocturne game. I ended with I think 45 Feral Flare stacks.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely ridiculous. Like that is the passive was dealing. I think it was like 100 bonus magic damage to champions on hit. Like that's
absurd,
insane damage.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's so much damage, especially since people are itemizing more armor in these AD comps. That's nuts. Wow, man. I mean, I think it's so cool that the game has come around to this, and I think we've been waiting for it a really long time. And maybe there's some junglers that are just sort of kind of just coming back into this, like Trundle and everything. Like a couple of people that might just be powerful that weren't anymore. I think the only junglers that are really still taking a hit are those defensive tanks like Nautilus, Maokai, those kind of guys. Zac. They're still pretty much out of the meta.
Yeah, they are. But the thing is, right now, you can be ahead of the curve right now. So, patch came out a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Everyone's jumping on Master Yi, on Xin Zhao and Nocturne. Yep. And then what you need to know right now is that who can find the counters first? Who's going to be able to beat these champions? So figuring out what is going to be the key to beating these junglers again is going to be quite crucial, I think, for both LCS and solo queue.
And is there an answer to that question? I mean, like
there is absolutely. There's a lot of champions I want to try right now that could be very effective against the junglers. So
as junglers, they can do it.
Yeah. So you got attack speed champions ruling the jungle. They're based off AD and attack speed. So you know those two things. They're farm heavy, they're gank heavy, they're powerful in team fights. What can you do to stop this? Well, first thing is you need to pretty much slow down their attack speed or just diminish their damage. So right off the bat, Amumu, great against physical damage, incredible team fight, good CC, stops these champions almost dead in their tracks. Next up would be champions like Lee Sin. Lee Sin in the jungle, great early pressure, slows down their attack speed, is able to fight some of these champions. Not that strong against a lot of these though. Lee's not that good against like Master Yi and shit like that.
Yeah.
Another one would be Nunu.
Really?
Fantastic in team fights. Yeah, Nunu has great team fight presence, especially against melee divers. Busts your AD carry out of control and pretty much forces anybody that doesn't have a great gap closer to just get completely mauled over.
Wow.
And the one that I really want to try so far is Nasus, because before Nasus used to be countered to Xin Zhao and Nocturne. Nasus would completely destroy Nasus and Nocturne. And now that these two are making a comeback, Nasus could make a comeback as well.
So would you see that Nasus would actually also go Feral Flare, or would he I feel like Golem's a really weak item now.
No. I'd probably get Golem on Nasus, to be honest.
Even with the health nerf?
Yeah, I could even do the AP item. I wouldn't do the attack speed item on him. Anything with CDR.
Okay.
And then the last one that I really want to try would be Rammus.
Yeah, I just saw that come up in chat. Actually, that's interesting. I think the comeback of Rammus finally after.
Yeah, that's a good point by Archangel Mon. The fact that Nunu can actually, since you need the big camp to take the stacks, Nunu can just go into your jungle and be like, oh, no big camp anymore, and then he just leaves that shit for you. And if you can consistently take away your Feral Flare stacks, he basically denies you so much.
And you wouldn't run. You'd probably run Golem on Rammus too, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay. And do you feel like Golem's like an overly weak item, like it needs to be tweaked a bit, or?
I mean, it's not bad. It offers a good CC. It offers good crowd control reduction, which is really effective, useful on health. So I don't think it's a bad item. I just think it's getting outclassed.
Okay. And on the jungle tier list, I think we're pretty good for release here. Do you think there's anything else you would look at based on what we got?
We got Kha'Zix, Pantheon, Vyzin, Nocturne, Lee, Yi, Tryndamere, Evelynn, Olaf, Fukong.
Olaf, interesting.
Olaf is alright.
I see him a lot in the Korean meta, and he's been used a lot there, but almost non-existent in NA.
Yeah, I say Shaco. We got to buff Shaco a little bit, so we'll go for late presence 10 out of 10.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, like, have you ever tried to fight a 10 item Shaco?
Oh, it sucks. Yeah, it's terrible.
It's impossible, especially with exhaust. There's absolutely nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And then he solos Baron quicker than anything else. Early presence.
I mean, immediately if we put a 10 on late presence, that puts him up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's like the 7th or 8th best jungler in the game at that point.
That's great. Yeah, that's good. That's good for him. That's pretty good.
Amazing. Do you have some time to take questions, or are you like on your way or what?
Well, I gotta use the bathroom. The only thing would be Olaf, not 030, probably 0219.
Okay. 021. 921. Can you take questions after that, or?
Yeah, I just gotta use the bathroom real quick.
Okay, go for it. Okay, I'll tell chat. So, you guys, we're gonna take a couple of questions. Crumbz has just been awesome to basically help us out with this. There will be a video to correspond with this and along with the jungle tier list. If you have serious questions about 4.5, the jungle, and anything, post them in chat, and we'll kind of go through them, and then we'll address that as it comes. And yeah, thank you guys. And I will be right back also, and then we'll get into the questions. So.
All right, so how are we doing these questions? I'm looking at, oh, I guess it's here.
Okay, I asked them to post questions. I just,
All right.
uh, okay, I'd like to know the opinion on what it takes to make Maokai viable again.
Maokai is a champion that, for him to be viable, a big thing that's going on right now is that it takes a lot of damage to kill champions. Before it was pretty easy. Like you could touch somebody because champions weren't nerfed, and you'd be able to kill them pretty much instantly. So like if you ganked a mid laner, chances are they'd be really damn squishy because everything, like your other mid laner, would deal a lot of damage. And Maokai just doesn't pack much damage right now. And his gank is very susceptible, his early gank, to being flashed away or being counter ganked because it takes him that long to burst somebody down. So for him to be viable, his damage would have to be increased on his abilities. He's got great CC and everything, and his clear time's not bad. He can defend himself averagely in the jungle, but he really just needs to deal more damage. He
Yeah.
just doesn't have it there. But then the difficulty with balancing that is that even though if he would deal more damage, he would still have his ultimate that reduces an incredible amount of damage for your team. 20% reduced damage for a team is something that is so powerful, so
Yeah.
blatantly overpowered.
Yeah, it's
It's
insane.
always mind-boggling how a champion with such a powerful ultimate is just not viable.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you. I mean, I think a lot of times Riot does that with percentages. They don't realize like 50%
Yeah.
on Kha'Zix is so freaking much. It's insane. Let's see. Roback asks, what about runes for jungling? Is flat armor or scaling health or a mix of them? We said that scaling health is pretty much what you want to go on jungling
As a
now.
jungler, yeah, as a jungler, either scaling health or if they have an incredibly heavy AD team comp, go with scaling armor.
But not flat now.
Never
Basically
flat armor,
scaling
yeah.
just beats it no matter what.
Scaling armor evens out with flat armor at level 6, so not
Yep.
worth.
Yeah, it's so fast. Feral Flare Jax is something that I'm experimenting with. I think that it's good, but I don't think that it has. I think it has mana issues right now. Same with J4 Feral Flare, though I haven't given that as much attention. Oh, that's a good question. Sincreed asks, with the nerf to Kha'Zix evolved ult, is it still viable to evolve it first or go back to evolving Q first?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a misconception right there. Kha'Zix ulti got buffed instead because the thing is, even though his tower damage reduction got removed, that's not why you picked Kha'Zix in the first. But you didn't pick Kha'Zix with the intention, hey, I'm gonna go tank towers. That barely mattered. Now his team fight presence is endlessly better because think about it like this. So you sacrifice turret damage, great. You're gonna be tower diving less. You can still do it really easily because every other champion takes as much damage from turrets, so it's not a big deal. Difference now is that before, when you evolved your ultimate, the downtime between the 3 charges was 2 seconds. So you'd use a charge, and then you wait 2 seconds, and then you can use another one. So those 2 seconds are 2 seconds that the enemy team can pop you instantly because you're vulnerable in that. You're in the middle of the fight and you don't have damage reduction. That got removed to 1 second now, which means that essentially you have 3 seconds less in a team fight to get fucked over.
Yeah.
That means that those 3 seconds in a team fight, half a second is already too long. So those 3 seconds being added onto your survivability is absolutely huge because that allows for great repositioning, an extra reset on your Q passive auto attack slow, and just better team fighting overall. So there's no reason to not evolve ulti now anymore. It's even better now. And evolving Q is almost never worth it now. Honestly
Really?
I've never done it yet, but I would consider evolving W as my 3rd evolution instead of Q, just because Q is just like a lot of times W is pretty good too. It's not a bad ability.
Wow, that's quite a. I didn't. I always use sometimes like level like E. You level R first no matter what.
Yeah, R
Okay.
first into E for sure.
Into E. Okay. Elden20 says, what are your thoughts about Diana jungle and AP junglers in general? I like that question.
AP junglers right now. Well, AP junglers, Eevee would be one of them that you classify as some sort of hybrid, right? Or
Yeah, she's kind
classify
of
as
like more like
hybrid.
almost like a Jax now with the last change to her because she does a lot of AD damage now. I guess she's still AP. I don't know. Yeah, I guess she's like more of like a hybrid. I think like in terms of AP junglers, we're thinking like Diana, Akali, uh, Morgana, some of those like Gragas, definitely Gragas. I know there's a lot of questions about that after his hitbox got changed.
Well, I haven't played Gragas, and I can't make an opinion about Jungle Gragas because Gragas is disabled for packs, so I won't be playing him or even looking to even think about what the champion does.
I thought we weren't going to PAX.
Not packs, the playoffs.
Oh, he's already disabled for it?
Yeah,
Why?
just because it's too new to change for it.
Weird. That's
Yeah. So pretty
Okay.
much, that's one champion that I don't have an opinion on.
Okay.
And the jungle champions that come to my mind, you've mentioned Akali, you've mentioned Diana. Those champions are very, very weak in my opinion because they have
Mhm.
and they're reliant on their mana early to fight as well. Like, they're not auto attack champions like unlike almost every other jungler right now.
Mhm.
So they can't defend themselves without mana. And Akali has energy, but she still runs out of energy in a fight.
Yep.
And they're only effective at level 6. So it's just having a level 6 jungler that's a bit weaker in my opinion because they're not tanks, they're AP, right? So a level 6 Vi is gonna be able to take more of a beating than a level 6 Akali.
Yeah. So they
And
don't have enough tank combined with
yeah,
yeah, and they
combined
have
with
to use
damages,
manas.
the itemization is not that good because you're wasting it early on 700 gold, but 700 gold on Spirit Stone.
Okay. Dano444 asks, do you think that tank junglers have become weaker due to meta changes favoring strong early game junglers and shifting tanks to moving to top lane? Or are there other reasons?
Mm, no, tank junglers haven't become that weak. The reason tank junglers have become weak is not because the other ones have become stronger. It's because of the itemization problems. They really struggle with items. Like Rammus is a champion that right now would be the prime time for Rammus.
If there's
Because
ever been a time, and that's now.
yeah, if there's ever a time for a Rammus, now is the time for Rammus to be here. But he just doesn't have the items. Like what Rammus needs is an item that will give him good mana, cooldown reduction. He can get it early. He can defend himself early with it. So what Ramos would need, he'd need like a Madras that could somehow regenerate his health, his mana and health because he needs a lot of mana to clear because he doesn't have that good of a clear time. So just the game isn't really built up around how he could jungle, just because he has to clear the big camp. Before all the camps were really weak. So now it's just he has to deal with one really big camp and he doesn't have that single target damage. So it's just the itemization. Same with Maokai, right? He doesn't have an item that's going to make him. How can you make Maokai get an item? Okay, if you build him with an AP item, he's going to get popped instantly. If you build him tank, he's not going to deal any damage. So it's just the itemization, in my opinion, that doesn't make these champions viable. And the only one would be Amumu. Amumu's always been viable.
Yeah, so Amumu's also you said is pretty incredible because of the change to Feral Flare basically makes him a very good counter to these common junglers coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of questions about attack speed quints. My understanding of that is that they've become efficient to the point where if there's a jungler where it makes sense to build them on that, then you probably build them.
Yeah, pretty much.
You said they're the most efficient quints in the game now at this point, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Let's see. So to answer your question on the Nocturne, yeah, you would build straight attack speed. I would also do that on Tryndamere. I've played a lot of Tryndamere and Xin Zhao. The lifesteal basically isn't. I used to run lifesteal on those guys. It's not as important now. Let's see. Take a few more questions. Zach falls into that kind of tank category with poor itemization, so I think he's in that list.
Yeah.
Let's see. Aatrox with Feral Flare. I think nobody's tried that yet. It's interesting.
I've played it actually.
What do you think?
Not really. He's got the same issue as before. Aatrox, fantastic early game jungler. Good for tower dives, good damage, good CC. Issues that being able to get in the position and get your Q off, not that easy. Honestly, getting the Q off is not. People tend to run away from you, and the hitbox is not that big. And aside from that, once you lose your passive, like it's really easy to turn on Aatrox there because you need to build him. You need to set his setup with runes and masteries. Sorry, is very offensive oriented,
Hmm.
so he's really squishy. So turning on him is quite easy. Once you get your passive popped, you're worthless. Without your passive, you are nothing because what's gonna happen is you queue in and then they're like, look at this guy. Somebody just literally launched themselves onto us.
Yeah.
Kill him
Yeah.
instantly, and then you just kill the guy with CC or damage, and then it doesn't do anything. So I don't think Nocturne's definitely not one of my. I mean, Aatrox is definitely not one of my favorite junglers right now, especially with Feral Flare.
Interesting question from Not Asking. It says, "How come we've never seen non-meta junglers in competitive play? Wouldn't it be worth a try, maybe against a weaker team, to catch enemies off guard with like a jungle Karthus?"
Well, I completely disagree with you about the how come we never see non-meta jungle champions. I believe in LCS. Personally, I've played jungle Fiddlesticks and jungle Kale, which are non-meta champions right now.
Hmm.
And many times in the past that's happened as well. So aside from that, any other champions, I believe Snoopit played Nautilus in the jungle and some other champion, Volibear. So seeing non-meta champions is just mostly about teams that want to have a good strategy on. The previous patch, it was really difficult to pull these champions off just because of the early game sheer bully dominance that the early game junglers could provide. But now that that's kind of been tweaked a little bit,
Hmm.
being able to play non-meta champions is something that's more viable. And honestly, it sucks to say it, but a lot of the time, some champions just don't fit into how the game works right now.
Did people actually win those games though when we did bring those non? I remember the Fiddlesticks was meant to be some kind of Thresh composition, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Fiddlesticks game was a complete slaughter, and then
On which side?
the we slaughtered with
Oh,
Fiddlesticks.
oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, it was a massacre because what happened is I would ulti onto a Thresh Lantern and I would get lanterned in to create huge distances from a Fiddle's ulti, and then that would just be huge. And then the Kale game, it wasn't really the Kale pick. The Kale pick didn't matter. We just had a one poor team fight and we lost.
Wow. And but did Snoopy have the same luck bringing some of those? I remember Volibear Jungle was really recent. That was against
He
you guys,
won.
wasn't it?
It was against Curse. He won with Volibear
Mm-hmm.
and they lost to Nautilus.
Oh, okay. And he ran Nautilus against us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That didn't work so well. You were Evelyn, right?
No, it was Kha'Zix.
Oh, even worse. Okay.
Yeah.
They gave us Kha'Zix for that game.
Yeah.
Goodness, that was just. Oh, geez. Let's see. I actually had a question also. I thought that was really good. I wanted your opinion on. I was thinking about this earlier. Um, Esports has been really interesting as a general concept. We've kind of come into a system where, especially I got to experience it going to the LCS and everything, that there's sort of kind of a system for esports now. I think actually, you've got these like kind of roles like life coach and stuff like kind of coming around, and more people are sort of getting introduced to it. How do you see esports looking for the North American scene and maybe overall? In the next kind of couple of years. Do you think that League of Legends will remain um, viable or as the top game? Of course, will be viable. There'll always be a place for that. And will it increase, or do you think we'll taper off? Like, how do you feel about that?
I think personally about League, yes. Now, for another game to come along, the only way I could see a game being able to maintain that game at a level, at a competitive level, that would be global, for the organizations in League to transfer themselves into whatever game would come along. But I think League will last, and the reason for that being right now is because, as you mentioned, with all the new positions coming in, a lot of these teams have a lot on the line. Like, people have put their blood, sweat, tears, and a large sum of their money into
Yeah,
this. So they really want to succeed regarding this.
yeah,
And like it's just gotten to the point that it no longer has that childish competitive aspect. Like, it's now something that's serious. Like, this is the real deal now. And I think with a very good thing for the North American scene is what's been going on this split in the LCS, which was that obviously they're still top teams, and a lot of these top teams have better regiments than some of the lower teams, and that's good. Lower teams should look up to these top teams
Yeah.
and adapt these ideas and these methods that the top teams are using, because obviously you don't want to get relegated. And a really good thing that I like about this split is LMQ. I think the fact that LMQ came here has made this LCS split being one of the most learning experiences for each team, because especially the teams that are struggling, or any team that's not the top two, because essentially they could be relegated in face against LMQ, because it's a team comes from China.
Yeah.
Nobody has an idea. Nobody knows how they play.
Mm-hmm.
You can't talk to them and say, "Hey, what's your play style?" No, you're not friends with them. They don't speak English. It's a team that's completely devoted into taking your job. If you fuck, yes,
That's
like,
true, I guess. Yeah, you're right.
that's what they are. So
Yeah.
it's like you got fire on your tail that's telling you, okay, if you slip up right now, you're gonna lose your job right now, and it's not even gonna be to somebody that you know. You're gonna lose your job to somebody that just does not give a fuck about you.
Yeah.
These people just came straight across the Pacific to take your job because they're better than you, and they proved it.
Isn't that a little bit dangerous for the scene in the same way, like what happened kind of with StarCraft, where it sort of got inundated by these really, really good players from other countries? Like that, this sort of came in, and then there was no NA scene. It was just like those countries.
It's a race. I mean, I think yeah,
Can we
it's
win it? Can we
definitely
even
dangerous.
compete?
It's dangerous. I think so. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. You got to compete with it. Otherwise, it's certainly dangerous. Because then you could say, oh, imagine if this split LMQ gets in, and then you got LMQ representing NA for Worlds, and then the next split you got another team from another region. So then the entire region ends up being not North American teams, and that's just going to be a heads up warning for the North American teams that, hey, like, you need to step up. This is not good for the region that this is happening. So I think it's definitely possible for the teams to adapt and recognize what's going on and being able to compete with foreign teams. But I think it adds a good amount of competition and healthy competition that could make the region that much better.
So do you think that NA will actually be able to step up against these teams, and that especially as we see more of these guys come through the challenger brackets? I agree with you. I think that really season 3 is, or season 4 actually, has been an incredible learning experience for LCS teams, and the sheer skill level has had to go up a lot. I know you and I have been working on a ton of stuff to try to even improve our team so that we can compete. What do you see other teams and other top teams doing to prepare for this? Like what is really separating TSM right now, and Cloud9 for that matter? Actually, since I believe they actually won the split, so what's actually separating them from the other tiers, and what did teams like sort of XTG and EG kind of do that that put them in the role that they're in?
Well, that's an easy question that you
Okay.
and I both know the answer. That's deliberate practice. Like, these
Yeah.
teams are practicing with complete intent as to what they're doing each game. So they're not going into a game. When your average league player goes into a solo queue game and saying, "Oh, I'm going to play solo queue. What are you going to do in solo queue?" Well, I'm going to win. I'm going to get my LP. I'm going to get my win of the day. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to carry. That's how you do solo queue. And then you got these teams going, well, I'm going to play solo queue because I want to experiment with this champion, with this rune setup. I want to see how viable it is with this strategy. Oh, I want to try how good my ward coverage is in this game. I want to see what my what I can do ganking this lane, snowballing this, performing this, acting like this in the team fight, just completely split pushing, trying new strategies out, improving specific strategies that you already have down and just get better at them. So deliberate practice is something that's definitely the thing that separates bottom teams from lower teams from
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I think that's a concept that we've talked about a lot. I knew the answer to it, but I wanted it to kind of come out on the stream because I think it's not discussed nearly enough by anybody.
Yeah.
I think that so few people put importance on it. I've had this kind of like conundrum too. There's a lot of people that have kind of come to the stream and said, "Hey, my dream is to be like a pro LCS player," and yet they play solo queue with that objective. So I think it is so important to try to play solo queue with the objective of deliberate practice and attempting to improve. every single game, not just with the objective of winning, but with the objective of getting better. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the jungle tier list will be going up tomorrow. I don't know if you have anything you want to say to the community. Also, I think we can ping back and forth offline. Also, I have a lot to talk to you about just with team related stuff and things like that. Do you have any like other closing thoughts or anything you want to like bring out there?
Well, the one thing would be that a lot of people don't think NA has a chance against pretty much the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I know that in North America has is that even though a lot of it's even the LCS and solo queues could be considered mediocre in comparison,
Mm-hmm.
that craziness spawns creativity, and NA North definitely has crazier strategies that can catch teams off guard. Like other regions are way more scared of trying crazy things. Like I guarantee you're not gonna see Faker say, "Oh, I want to play Soraka mid,"
Yeah,
or "I'm gonna
you just
play
can't
Vega,"
get away with it.
or "I'm gonna play Vega this time." They could, but that's just not built into them. That's not what they're gonna do. They're gonna play what they know is good at the time, what is mathematically what makes sense in there. This is good. I'm gonna play this. So they're very methodical as to what they're gonna do. They're not gonna think outside the box. They're just gonna play whatever's in the box at the perfect level.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the one thing that even if North America can't catch up in the regimen and all the other things that all the other regions have on them, like the creativity and ability to innovate and surprise other teams is something that I think will always have over the other regions, that will certainly be a defining factor in any North international tournaments.
Awesome. That's actually something I'd never even thought about. I hope that we can. I think so much of esports is based off the innovation and entrepreneurship and kind of initiation of the people in NA. I mean, we make so much of esports possible that I have a little bit of a fear, like I've told you before, that I think that it could really easily be dominated by other scenes, and at that point you sort of risk viewer interest because you get alienated from from the teams. Like everybody in NA wants TSM to win, wants C9 to win, wants us to win, and there's just a cultural barrier, I think, to Korean teams winning and things like that, and other teams like Chinese teams winning and things like that NA can't relate to as well. So it would be really good to see the scene kind of compete in any way, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I can't tell you how grateful I am to you. Just, I mean, everything aside, man. I feel like we're such good friends, and I'm so grateful to you to come on the show and to help me with this, because it's a huge thing for the broadcast and for the community here. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure in doing so, as always.
Thank you, man. I have a couple of ideas I want to bounce off you, but then we should have kind of like a full conversation about
for sure.
all the other stuff tomorrow.
But I gotta go because I gotta get a shuttle at 10:30 a.m. We gotta do some video shoots tomorrow.
All right, man. Thank you again, and I'm sure the community just shout out Crumbz for being here.